So, Cody, I was thinking earlier today, 2016, that election was just like, guess what? You have to pick one of these people, and they're the worst choices in human history. And then 2020 said, hold my beer.
Right? It's like, yeah, they thought those were the worst choices. Watch this.
Shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up. I'm embarrassed.
Oh my god, it was the funniest article I've ever read in my entire life.
I watched a couple of compilation videos on YouTube. I've got it all figured out.
You're listening to the No Big Banana Podcast.
Welcome back to the No Big Banana Podcast. My name is Charles.
My name's Cody.
And Justin isn't with us this evening, and I elected to not have Justin here for the evening because I wanted to get Cody's thoughts on what's been going on. It's like Boogaloo Central out there, bro.
Yeah, it's getting pretty hot out there for sure. Definitely a strange time.
Probably a time to feel good to be a gun owner.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's like one of those things where you don't have to scramble and lose your shit at the last second.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of crazy shit going on. I can't get over this thing with George Floyd and with protesting against police brutality being met with police brutality. And by the way, I continue to see the military do it right. There's a fucking video I watched this afternoon of National Guard dancing in the street in like DC or something.
Yeah, I saw that one. Yeah, my approach to this one is kind of just like take it really slow, try not to jump to any conclusions and like vindicate anybody. I mean, I know that there's evil on both sides, obviously, and there's not good people on both sides, but that's obvious for every situation. This one is a little bit more sensitive, I feel. It's definitely be very careful with what you're saying here too, as opposed to other situations where it's kind of more blatant and you can just kind of do what you want and say what you want and get away with it. I feel like this one is a little bit more tense of a situation.
Yeah, well, I think that there's a lot of tension in general in this country in the last couple of months. Like, it's unfortunate that it's taken this level of extremism for us to have a serious conversation about the cops and authority thing and the racial thing, but I also think that it's just kind of like a natural boiling over from everything that's been going on with fucking COVID and all of this other nonsense.
Yeah, it definitely is. I would say it's like the same thing that they say what got Trump elected in 2016 is a whole bunch of people were disenfranchised, and I think this is another round of that happening. If it's another round of disenfranchised people actually getting to voice their opinions for once and have it heard.
Yeah, and that I saw that picture that I saw that picture reposted of the Black Panthers in Atlanta. That shit's getting real.
Yeah, and that's the way it's needed to be. That's the way it's needed to be since ground one. I've been preaching that shit forever. I mean, it's like basic frameworks use the same rights that are guaranteed to everybody else to protect yourself, especially if you're a minority.
Yeah.
I mean, I might just be talking out the ass because I'm not a minority and I didn't grow up in a really bad neighborhood or anything, but use those same rights that are guaranteed to everybody else to protect yourself, especially in times like this.
I wonder about that too. I wonder if I would certainly, I don't mean this to sound like I'm putting it on the black community for them to act a specific way to avoid getting beat by the police, because
right.
That's the same argument that they say about women should dress a certain way to avoid getting raped. It's crazy talk.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
But what I will say is I agree with what you said. Like, dude, if you're a black guy in this country, get a fucking gun. Get a fucking rifle and just walk around with it. I really don't like. One of the big problems that I've had lately that I've been struggling with is watching the amount of hypocrisy on both sides.
There's a staggering amount of hypocrisy. It's abysmal. It's very hard.
Yeah, I'm actually more surprised that conservatives support the curfews than Democrats don't, because they both flip-flopped. 3 weeks ago, the Democrats were saying, well, the state told us to stay inside, so we have to stay inside. And the right was like, they're taking away our liberty. And now Here we are with the riots, and the left is like, this is bullshit. Because, by the way, it is bullshit for them to enact any curfew for any reason. I mean, unless we're like actively getting attacked, and even then, like, don't fucking tell me what to do. You can't tell me when I can go outside. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's like that post that I saw, and it's something that I believe fully to my heart, and it's not even something that needs to be said. Is what point me to that any article anywhere in the Constitution or any law book that says that the government can beat the shit out of its citizens past 801.
Yeah, it doesn't exist, and that's one of the most tyrannical things I could fucking think of. If I had to make a short list of stuff that I thought was tyrannical, one of those things would be enacting a curfew that states that people have to be in certain places at certain times.
Yeah, I honestly think it's a little bit blowback. Like, I'm not trying to shift everything like over and just be like it's all the Democrats' fault, but it's like 3 weeks ago you guys allowed it. You guys didn't bat an eye at it when the government tried to tell you to stay inside.
Right.
And when everybody was screaming this is a slippery slope and they're going to do it again, nobody listened. And then all of a sudden they did it again, but now the right has the ability to say, well, they did it 3 weeks ago when we were against it, but they did it anyway, so now we get to do it.
Right. It's just, I feel like it's been, some of these things get played right into their hand. And, I've said this to you on multiple issues, like, it would be, it's very evident to me that this partisanship and this like teams mentality of like picking sides is more important to people. It's they would rather identify with a side that has an antithesis than actually like reach peace among different opinions, because if either one of them wanted to fucking meet in the middle, it would be very little a sacrifice on their part to do so.
Right, and the thing that baffles me is the more that all of this goes on, whether you're a left or a right or centrist or anything like that, and if you're a centrist and leaning into one of the parties right now, I really don't understand. The people that are moving and gravitating closer to their parties in this time, that baffles me. I don't know how people aren't turning around and just running away from every political establishment that exists right now.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly am even more weary than normal in terms of picking sides, because, if it is something where we're going to come to war, here's the thing, like, neither side is 100% right. It's like neither side is 100% wrong, but also neither side is 100% right. If it was, then there probably wouldn't be sides.
No, not at all. Like, and exactly like you said, neither side is right. Right now it's the most conflicted, but yet people are drawing their party lines harder than they've ever drawn them. But I don't know if they're so sure and more confident in their party now, or if they just feel like they're being attacked.
It's a weird time and place to draw those lines too. Because
exactly, these aren't partisan issues. That's the thing, is that none of these issues that we're facing right now are partisan issues whatsoever.
But we've been, and Justin and I were talking about this too, about how like he thought that he was of the opinion that when Obama got elected, that a lot of this, a lot of things would change in terms of the racism and people would come together, and instead things kind of got worse. And then, good God, since Trump has been elected, you can't even have a fucking conversation with somebody without it escalating quickly.
Yeah, it's really, really dangerous. That's the thing that's going to bring us down faster than anything else. And I think foreign governments know that. I'm sure Putin knows that. There's no way he can take us down himself, so he has to make us do it to ourselves.
Oh yeah, dude, did you see that shit that China said about us too, by the way?
Yeah, of course.
Well, they're hoping, their fingers are crossed that we crumble so that they can swoop in.
We don't even have to crumble, honestly. I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't have the enigmatic Donald Trump sitting in the office. I don't think that, it's hard to say, because it's like the economic predictions said that we were going to have job loss over the last month, but we did have growth. We did gain job. That's really strange to me as well. So I don't know if that's like anything Donald Trump does, or if it's confidence in the market because of Donald Trump or anything like that. But I don't know if we had anybody else in office that we would be able to go back to the front after this whole entire crisis is over.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that I think it's going to get to a place where it doesn't matter, particularly when this next wave of COVID hits. When it gets colder, more people are going to catch it and more people are going to die. I also read a thing earlier, speaking of COVID and this protest thing, that said, like, imagine being a country and imagine being a government and using police forces to tear gas people who are protesting under their First Amendment right during a pandemic of a disease that infects the lungs.
Yeah, I saw that same shit. And you see that one dude got charged with assaulting an officer with a chemical agent.
With a chemical agent?
Yeah, he threw the tear gas canister that they shot at him back at the officers, and they arrested him and or charged him with assaulting an officer with a chemical agent.
Wow. Well, I can't say that that's too surprising. Isn't it banned
It's not
in warfare?
surprising, but it's not necessarily.
I mean, that's a weird thing, right? Those rules about war where it's like, oh, well, that's against the rules. It's like, hey, man, like if one country is like trying to commit genocide, I don't think they really give a fuck about rules.
Right. And that, I mean, that's what's always funny about it is like, and I think I can't remember, I think it was Alex Jones that got a bunch of shit, or like Tucker Carlson or something like that, for saying the Nazis didn't use chemical weapons during World War II. And everybody was like, well, they used them to kill the Jews and all that stuff. But, I mean, they never used it in combat during World War II, but yet they were okay with systematically executing 6 million people.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of people that say like things are illegal, but we're not signed to a lot of those conventions. So we actually don't have to abide by a lot of those.
Well, I would imagine any of them that we are signed up to, Trump would have pulled us out of by now anyway.
I believe the only ones that we're signed to are chemical warfare and cluster munitions.
That's Geneva. Geneva Convention stuff. Yeah.
I don't believe that we technically are a part of the Geneva Convention.
That's bizarre.
I think we helped establish it, but we did not decide to join it.
That's a very American thing of us to do.
Yeah, I'll have to look that up just to be sure, because I might be talking out my ass. But
well, it sounds
it was that, or if it was post World War One, I believe. I think it was might have been like two things that were signed in one go around, essentially in the same year. And I know we signed one of them, but didn't sign the other one.
Right. So I don't know. So what does that mean? Like, do you think? I don't know if we're gonna have an election. I really keep coming back to that and thinking like, I'm just picturing like August and it's starting to get cold and people are getting sicker and there's been no real justice delivered. Because here's the thing about this protesting, man. This shit, the court is so slow. And if people are going to be this fired up about it until there's some form of verdict or justice served, it's going to be a long time going.
I think that if we keep fired up about it, it'll be faster. They'll get it done faster.
That's true. I did see that they reopened Breonna Taylor's case. Did you see that?
Yeah, they reopened her case. But I mean, they charged the officer 48 hours, 72 hours after the actual event happened for this one, which is usually something that takes anywhere from 9 months to a year for them to get charges.
Right.
So, I mean, obviously it was a very clear-cut case. They didn't really have to meddle much in the investigation. It was all right there in front of them. But, I mean, I don't know if, like, the protest served as a little bit of a fire for them to get started, or if they just had all the evidence.
Oh no, they got fired up, and because of the people. I think that they, especially considering how close a proximity it was to Ahmaud Arbery, and that had been met with vehement criticism because of how long it took them to arrest the cops. So I think that definitely
was fucking stupid too.
Yeah, I definitely think that played a role.
The thing is it wasn't. They weren't even cops. Like, they were just fucking dudes. That's the thing that baffles me. Is like, you can almost understand it if it's police and it was an officer involved shooting. They have to get like the union involved or whatever to investigate it, make sure everything was done right. But you just had a dude gun down another dude in the middle of the street and told him he can go home. Yeah, it's pretty fucking crazy. And, what I think, too, is that, because, a lot of times you'll see people make the argument of, well, black people kill black people more than police kill black people. And it's like, that's so fucking stupid. That might be true statistically, but there's a very important distinction that be made between people who are killed by authority figures versus people who are just killed by another person. Like here's an example. Do you think that it's worse for a kid to be kidnapped by a pedophile and molested? Or do you think it's worse that kid be molested by his priest, who he was taught to trust, who he was taught was like... a little bit more palatable one. I'll give you a more palatable one. How about a kid getting spanked by the principal, or the kid getting spanked by the mom for doing something bad? Yes, that's less depraved of you. That's a better example.
But that's what it's like. It's like, look, if you're going to talk about people killing people, whatever the race, if it's just like a regular guy that kills a regular guy, I don't care what their races are, because that is a separate issue. What's happening in these instances are white men, typically white men that are in power, that are authority figures that we're supposed to trust, that we're taught are the good guys, are murdering black men, and in this case, in the street, in front of everyone, for everyone to see. So that is a very separate issue from just saying, well, people kill people all the time. It's just as stupid as the people that say, like, well, you know, you could die in a car accident or you could die from COVID. And it's like, okay, but car accidents have been happening for 100 years. We've already worked that into our society and our frame of thought for when it comes to population. COVID could tomorrow turn into a thing that like makes you bleed from all of your pores. We don't know.
Yeah, it could turn into, what was the Stephen King movie, or novel movie? It was like a Maximum Overdrive.
Maximum Overdrive was the one where the planet made all of the machines sentient and kill all the people.
Oh, yeah. What was the one with the runaway killer truck that just started fucking murdering everybody?
That was Maximum Overdrive.
Oh, it was. Okay, yeah. That's right. Yeah, that's what's going to happen. All the cars are going to become self-aware and start murdering everybody. That's the new COVID.
It wouldn't surprise me, man, with the way the 2020's going. Like, the Jumanji jokes are hilarious, because that's what it feels like, dude.
For real.
It feels like every day I wake up and it's like, I feel like my Google News is taunting me, and it's just like, well, if you thought that shit was crazy that you read yesterday, get a load of this.
I feel like with every event, I can just like jump through history and like point to something similar that's happened, but it's all spread out over like 1,000 years, and we've experienced it in 6 months.
Oh yeah, dude. How about this? I saved this earlier. I saw on social media somewhere. The early warning signs of fascism. Did you see this?
I think I've seen it before. It was probably when Obama was in office and it was floating around.
Probably.
Yeah.
Well, this is in the United States Holocaust Museum.
Oh, yeah, I actually have seen
that.
I think I saw that when Donald Trump got elected, actually.
Yeah, early warning signs of fascism. Powerful and continuing nationalism. Check. Disdain for human rights. That's arguable.
That is not arguable under him, in my opinion.
I'm trying to be as objective as possible. Like, I guess it is an objective. It's not objectional, or it's not arguable, I guess, when you consider the immigrants.
Don't take into account his policies. Just try to look at him personally.
Yeah, that's true. Identification of enemies as a unifying cause, 100%. That's how he got elected.
China.
Supremacy of the military, check.
Unless you're General Mattis.
Rampant sexism. Grab her by the pussy before he was even in office. By the way, let me just say, if I haven't ever said this publicly, as a man, like, yeah, you say some stuff that you probably wouldn't say in front of women, but that shit is insane. And I've never in my life, at my most boyish and mannish in those kind of sexual conversations with peers, have I ever said anything like, yeah, you could just grab her pussy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand how you like get to that point. I guess I wasn't like a locker room kid.
Yeah.
I wasn't that guy that hung around and made the locker room jokes with everybody while they were all covered in sweat and staph infections. I didn't hang around that spot.
Yeah. How about controlled mass media? Well, he doesn't have it.
Again.
He doesn't have it, but he certainly wants it.
He's working on it.
Yeah.
Hitler didn't have it when he got elected either.
Yeah. Obsession with national security, 100%.
If only he took it fucking seriously.
Religion and government intertwined. Now, he's a little bit lacking there because he recently held up a Bible backwards and upside down in front of a church that he never attends. So,
yeah, but that's showing that the thing is that he's making the conscious effort.
Right.
So it's not about him not doing it. It's about him making the effort and slightly failing, but also people are going to still look at that and be like, that's perfectly.
Yeah. Corporate power protected, definitely. Labor power suppressed, maybe.
That's definitely the most arguable one that I have seen so far.
Disdain for intellectuals and the arts. Yeah, I've seen that.
Oh, God, yeah.
I've seen that behavior. Him just like writing people off because they're artists or or if they're
Unless you're Kanye.
Or if you're like a 15-year-old girl. That's a quick way to get on Trump's list. Obsession
Depends on which list you're talking about.
That's true. Obsession with crime and punishment. Maybe.
I would say, I mean, shit, when the looting starts, the shooting starts.
That's true. Rampant cronyism and corruption, definitely.
Nah, that's arguable.
Whatever, dude. And fraudulent elections. I mean, that's...
We'll find out.
Well, I mean, we already know, right? That, I mean, you can't say that, like, he rigged it last time, but it was definitely a fraudulent election.
Yeah, it was 100% fraudulent, but it would have been fraudulent whether Hillary or him won, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, you know what that sound is? You can't hear it, but I can hear it, and that sound means that we are done with Tuesday. So
Tuesday.
Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at NoBigBanana, and send us an email at nobigbanana@gmail.com if you have any questions for us or anything that you would like us to talk about. It's a weird, rough time right now, and we're all just doing our best to not go crazy, and hope y'all are all out there not going crazy.
Try not to talk to anybody on Facebook.
Yeah, don't do that. That's a good point. That's just, you're just going to invite yourself into a flame war, and it's not going to be fun for anybody.
It's like shouting at a brick wall. You can't do it.
All right, see you Thursday.